It is an H&H Old Dark Fire, kind of a night. And this Aldo Velani. It's my first briar pipe I ever bought. It's kind of, I don't know, is it a basket briar? Not really sure, but I didn't smoke it for a long time. So I originally got this pipe. It was the only briar pipe I had to smoke, but of course I still smoked my cobs. And I reached a point where, I just wouldn't almost never pick it up ever. I think it had to do with the stem, where the bite zone was incredibly wide. It was fishtailed out, of course. And like always, my complaint is, stems are just too wide. They don't have enough button to them, that kind of a thing. So very recently, this is like maybe last week, I really ground this thing down. So it's incredibly tiny. It's incredibly narrow, but it just fits perfectly. The problem I have where a pipe kind of like pulls on the back of my lip or whatever, like this. I don't get it at all. It's really nice. So originally this was like a really dark brown color. And I think it was that really dark brown color, maybe to just hide the fact that it didn't really have the most, interesting grain or the most sellable grain. It didn't have a straight grain pattern to it. It didn't have the bird's eye on the left and right, and then of course flame on the back and front, that kind of a thing. And I didn't really know about that at the time. And by the time I had a couple of estates, I just thought, I kind of want to like mess around with pipes. I want to like see, kind of know what's in there and stuff like that. And so I went and sanded down the color on the outside, the stain. And I had like, just this weird grain pattern. It's really swirly all over the place. And if you look at the shape, it's kind of like, it's really Dublined out, but it has almost like, I don't know what you call it. It's like a sitter also. You can see the very bottom has like a flat panel to it. It's kind of a squashed diamond shank, which is odd and interesting. And the very top, for some reason, is almost like flattened out. It's not very sharp. The bottom part is, of course, not very sharp because it's a sitter. And I don't know, it's just interesting. It's a weird shape, in a sense, compared to these other pipes that are out there. It's like a weird take on the Anglo-French design. It's already out, of course. And the stem, too, has, I think the shape I see with a lot of Peterson P-lips. The army mount, actually, like the army mount stem kind of has this, like tapers out and then it tapers back down. So it's like a taper. And of course the stem button, you can see I added a more prominent button to it. Has the orific hole at the end of it. This is all made out of CA glue and carbon. Just adding layers and layers, basically doing what people always do when they want to, fix a button. So it's just a built button, basically. Clinches very nicely. I think I'll probably smoke this a lot more now that it's more comfortable. And the weight is, pushing almost 2 ounces. It's like 1.75, something like that when I put it on the scale. It doesn't feel that heavy to me, at least. I think it's just the clenchability to a pipe. I'm guessing I could even have like maybe a 2-ounce pipe and it wouldn't feel like it's a 2-ounce pipe if it just clenches perfectly and has that perfect shape to it. And I find recently that with these taper stems, if the taper is pretty aggressive and then it has a very hefty button to it, then my teeth actually slide down. So they slide down the taper the same way something will slide down a ramp. So my teeth just slide right into there, into that groove. And it's interesting, like I would think that it would be too constrictive. Like it would be constricting my teeth to sit in one place. But that's really where I want my teeth to sit, right here against the button, because in this situation, with this GBD Prince, it's a very flat taper. So in a sense, it's almost as if up here, I just kind of beveled it out. It would be a saddle bit, right, to some degree. So what happens with these ones is I'm clenching, everything's good to go, it's great, but then it actually slides up like that, so into my mouth too far. And then the button actually rests on the roof of my mouth. It's kind of painful because, especially with these edits that I do, the button becomes very sharp on the very top, almost like a little sharp blade right there. And it pokes into the roof of my mouth. If I'm just walking around, I kind of whip my head around or something, and it flips into my mouth, just like cuts almost the top of my mouth a little bit. Not an actual cut, but just a little bit uncomfortable, slight bit of discomfort. And I just don't want that for some reason. So I do find, for some reason nowadays, which I never felt that want or desire for a taper stem. I almost always would want a saddle stem. It was just always saddle stem all the way. Saddle stems are better in every single way, I thought. But I can just see how this taper style, especially an aggressive taper, just slides right up into there. It's just very good. Very perfect for some reason. I'm guessing that reason is the fact that it guides my teeth into the right place. I guess you could liken it to a lot of knives people have, where they have these little grooves on the handle. Your hand fits in there. And I came out of the martial arts world, and in Kendo, the Japanese fencing martial art that I did for like 13 years since I was like 10 or whatever. That martial art, the swords that you use, you know, the handle on the sword is just flat completely. It has no grooves to it whatsoever. And people actually do. They buy specific handles that have kind of grooves on them, or are octagonally shaped, or they have some kind of an oval shape to it. So that way you keep the actual blade angle in the right direction. Having the blade angle in the right direction is very necessary for point scoring, things like that. And I don't know, it's an interesting thing. When I used to do Kendo, I would modify the crap out of everything, like all my equipment. I would try to like make my own edits to equipment, make my own repairs to the equipment and everything. And it's interesting, you know, if you're the repair guy in the dojo, all your other friends in the dojo like will ask you, you know, they'll ask you, hey, like, can you fix my gauntlet, my gloves, you know, because they always tear, stuff like that. So you kind of figure that stuff out. And there's always like a wealth of information out there on the internet. You know, you just search Kendo, you know, glove. They call it kote. It's kote repair or something. There's always someone who's done it before. Or there's always almost another field where there's more people in it where they've done it before. So maybe just leatherworking in general. And you can look up leatherworking, how you sew things, etc. And you can find, you know, what kind of material's good. And of course, there's kind of a learning process. Like you find that certain threads are to, you know, cut the leather, etc. And it seems like that's probably the case with pipe making. There's just a wealth of information out there. And I'm guessing there's a wealth of individuals who know stuff. And it seems like if I just go, like right now, I'm on Instagram a lot, and I'm just asking people who know how to fix stuff. Like there's this guy, actually I don't even know his name, but his page is Radpipes, RADPIPES, @Radpipes. And he does a lot of interesting stuff, like instead of fixing stem buttons with just CA glue and carbon, he uses this special kind of an oil and pressure and heat. So I think after he applies it in this kind of proprietary way, he builds up whatever the material he needs for the stem button. He heats it up, and then I think he presses it together. And I don't know, it's almost like he said, you know, he apparently has like parents or family members who are in the, what do you call it? They're chemists, basically, so they know that kind of stuff. And I think he said it's almost like tempering it. It's almost like tempering and it creates like a crystalline structure. And I'm guessing it probably becomes more like actual acrylic. This stuff, I think, I don't know, there's something about it. Maybe it'll wear out quicker, or maybe in 5 years it'll deteriorate. Who knows? It's hard to tell exactly what this specific little carbon and cyanoacrylate glue button that it built up around the original button will do in 5 years. I have no idea. Of course, back to this Aldo Velani pipe. I think they priced them at about $70, $65. I think they paid about $75 for this at my brick and mortar. So they probably kind of upcharge a little bit, you know. They got to make money to just stay alive, these places. I mean, especially in the state of Washington with their crazy taxes. I don't know, I'm guessing they're a little bit struggling, on the struggling end of tobacco places. And of course, all these little rustications I did, it's kind of like a fantasy style. I hate to say it, but it's almost stereotypically Japanese cartoon looking. I don't really go for the anime aesthetic because it's I don't want to pigeonhole myself. You know, I've watched like a handful of them. I don't really like watching TV, honestly. But to sit down and watch TV, you gotta sit down and do nothing. It's so hard for me to do. That's why Pipes is great for me. I can sit down and do relatively nothing, or I can just walk around and look at things. You know, usually I want to be thinking about things or like tinkering with things, writing things, etc. But I can actually just sit and do nothing for the most part. Just enjoy flavors, or enjoy the texture of a pipe, the shape, plan things for it, like what can I do with this later, that kind of thing. Hopefully not acting too much on my ideas for ways to tinker with pipes and maybe ruin them in the long run, who knows. I kind of feel bad for my Balkans, my English ones. I don't smoke it much at all recently. There's an article that Smoking Pipes put out, and they explain tongue bite. And what I like about it is it explains the many small components, the factors that could play a role in what causes tongue bite. And that's like one of my favorite, I don't know what you call it, it's almost like an intellectual habit. A lot of times people will say things like, you know, big pipes are obviously better than small pipes. And then they go on with kind of arguments on why the big pipe is better, etc. But I think a lot of times there are priors leading up to this argument that are like priors like, you know, why do you prefer a big pipe? Is it because it's a heat sink? You know, is it because you actually don't clench at all ever, and you never go lunting, and you're always sitting down with your pipe? And you usually kind of find these things out. And it's funny because this is an argument that doesn't matter. I mean, who cares? What I like about the pipe community is, in the end of the day, people have kind of a libertine streak where they always are willing to have, maybe they're willing to have this very like staunch opinion on something like, yeah, this is obviously better. Like, filter pipes are obviously better than unfiltered pipes. Like, we all know this, that kind of a thing. They kind of have an assumption that what their preference is the best way to go. I mean, people in the martial arts world have this, but on top of that, they have, in the martial arts world at least, they have a desire to inflict their opinion on everyone. So it's very almost, it's political in the sense that it's, that you're trying to get other people to do. You're trying to evangelize your idea. With pipes, people don't evangelize ever. It's always people say, well, this is what I like the best. This is the only good blend there is. This is the only, H&H Dark Fired is the only good tobacco out there. All the other ones suck. But this is my opinion. They always say, you know, oh, it's just my opinion though. Like, they always have that caveat to it. It's really interesting. Almost, or not always, but almost always these people who have these staunch ideas, they have that caveat of, well, you know, to each his own. They kind of like that, or they understand that they can be left alone, that kind of thing. It's really interesting. I just don't see that in all little worlds, or I don't know, pockets or communities, etc., or groups of people who, I know we call it an affinity group, people who like this one thing, whatever that is. So I don't know if I'm going to be posting much stuff on YouTube. And what I hate is, right now I'm doing stuff on Instagram. I'm posting all these videos on Instagram. And what I like is they're really short videos, and they're concise. And my whole goal with this little YouTube channel here, and like the Instagram page that I have, is I just want to document the stuff I'm doing. For the most part, I just want to document the pipes that I have. I want to take pictures of my pipes and kind of put them, it's basically scrapbooking, I guess. So I want to be able to go back and remember, like, this is the pipe that I worked on for this, you know, because I'll probably sell pipes, or I might lose pipes, or maybe this house will burn down someday and I'll lose everything that I have. So I kind of want something in the cloud, you know, floating around that I can remember and maybe look back on for some reason. Like, even though I don't know if anyone's ever going to really look at this stuff. Even though I don't really have the technical prowess, or what do you call it, almost the industry necessitated ability to, I don't know, recreate pipe buttons at like a factory level or something like that. I don't have that kind of level of knowledge or expertise, but it's kind of nice to just look back every once in a while and be like, oh yeah, that was that pipe that I did whatever on. And it's really nice because there's this YTPC, or there's this like online pipe community aspect, and it seems like a lot of people love that, and that's like their most favored part of this or something. I mean, it's very, I don't know what you call it. It's almost like, it's almost altruistic, you know. There are people who are making videos to like support friends who are in need or something, and they have pipe channels. I think it's really great. It's like an amazing an amazingly interesting thing that I never really looked at. For the longest time, I would just watch pipe videos on just specifically how to fix a certain thing, or I don't know, just people just doing blend reviews, and that's about all they do. It's interesting. I don't seem to really consume that much pipe content anyway to begin with. I kind of feel bad because I'm like starting this page, but I'm not all that involved, or I'm not really involved in giveaways, or I don't know what you call them, like response videos, etc. But I like smoking a pipe. I like sitting down and listening to like a podcast or something often. Or what I hope to do is just to not listen to anything and just be in silence, because it seems it's kind of what I need more than anything, is a place to reset and just have a blank slate so I can move on and do other things without worrying about things, etc. It's just so comfortable. I never imagined this pipe would be something I'd actually want to pick up. And it looks kind of weird. It has this like, I think the dark color too, the dark blue color, it makes people think maybe it's not wood. That's partly why I did this sanding of the rim here, so people can tell you it actually is wood. It's just blue painted. It's blue dyed. And I feel like if I had to lose one kind of pipe tobacco right now at this moment, I'd be okay with just losing all of my Latakia, all of my English blends for some reason. Like, I'm okay with replacing all that with the dark fire, you know, Kentucky blends like that. At least at the moment. I think that stuff's subject to change. I'm going for 17 minutes here. So finally, here's one little opinion I've been thinking about a lot, and I've been doing this quite a bit for a long time. I always hold my pipe like this. And I think I've seen videos of Carl Jung holding his pipe like this. Like, a lot of people think they have like different people who they watch. Like Jack Hargreaves, for example. Professor Jeremiah. He's a really interesting guy. He's like, when I watch his videos, I kind of think, you know, he's kind of like almost like an Indiana Jones-esque character. He has that look. It's kind of fun. It's kind of neat. But him and the YouTuber 3 Rivers, we're talking about Jack Hargreaves. And it's like, they're great videos. They're just videos of, I don't know, the British like countryside, I guess. I don't know very much about that, to be honest. I have such a horrible affinity for like the Russian world for the longest time, like pre-war. Apparently everybody thinks like Russia and Ukraine and like the Baltics and everything are really cool now because, you know, there's atrocities being, I mean, there's people dying all the time over there in this area, just people fighting for, at least attempting to fight for their ability to just exist as their own country, etc. currently, which is like a horrible thing. And then people have a lot of interest in it. But I don't want to be a hipster. I mean, it's very hipster sounding, saying like, yeah, I was interested in Eastern Europe before you guys, that kind of a thing. Seems like kind of a horrible thing to say, so hopefully I don't say something like that. But it's interesting, the first little media thing that got me into just tobacco in general is a lesser known Dostoevsky book, the Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's a Dostoevsky book called The Double. It's kind of a short story, I think. And I haven't read it in a long time. I think I read it like 3 times over or something really weird for some reason. Just really was into this book. But it's like a doppelganger book. It's a book about this really anxious, nervous guy who's a hypochondriac, which is very relatable because I have, unfortunately, a lot of hypochondriasis issues all the time. I always think there's some kind of health issue, and I actually believe they're actual delusions. I believe that there's actual health issues with me. It's always usually cardiac related. I think I'm having a heart attack, etc. It's a great thing. So many kids of this generation have it for some reason. I have no idea why. Lots of stuff to deal with, of course. But in this book, the main character goes to his doctor, and He's kind of like, I think he's kind of a kind of well-to-do. You know, he works in the Russian government of the time. You know, this is the Tsarist time period. And he goes to his doctor and he says, you know, I feel horrible. Like I have all these health issues, etc. And the doctor, you can just tell he knows, you know, there's nothing specifically wrong with you physiologically from what he can tell. It's a psychological issue. And so the doctor's trying to help him. And he's saying, you know, have you been smoking your cigars? Have you been taking time to smoke your cigars? You know, because that's what the doctor's, he's trying to help this person just relax, honestly. And today, you know, we have a lot more things to prescribe. You know, I'm obviously the nature of healthcare is different, but I don't know, there's something about this where it's interesting. This doctor is really trying to make sure, you know, have you tried just smoking your cigars and chilling out and relaxing? It's really what he's trying to tell him. But of course, the main character just doesn't believe that, you know, and he believes there's got to be something I can take to cure this, or there's some kind of ailment I have currently, and it's not all just in my head, really. And it's interesting. I mean, what is this, like 18 whatever when this was written? And I don't know. I think those issues are probably kind of been around forever. Who knows? Or maybe it's all just the turn of the Industrial Revolution or something. But I have a feeling that's probably not the case. Well, I guess this YouTube channel is going to be mostly me just rambling for the most part, just really long form. So if you want to see really short form things, I don't know if you are even interested in it. I don't. It seems like a lot of the people on YouTube aren't really on Instagram. Like they're kind of two different worlds for the most part. They don't really have that much of a Venn diagram kind of meeting in the middle, it seems. Maybe I'm wrong. But I guess I'll post more of that kind of short stuff on Instagram for now. And of course photos. I should probably get more photos of these pipes before I sell them or lose them or something. I'm trying to sell this Rocky Donegal Rocky Peterson 150 straight bulldog that I just never smoke. And it's just so unedited. Like I don't wanna ruin that thing. It's like a new pipe. Probably sell it and buy a pipe that I actually want. So some other, maybe like I think Christwell is the brand. My local B&M said that the Christwell factory, or the actual machinery the actual factory machinery, probably personnel too, was sold to Nording. So I think it's almost like a pre-Nording kind of make. They're interesting. I kind of want a Christwell? I think it's just K-R-I-S, Christwell. I don't know. Sheraton? What is it? What should we say? I don't know. Should we say Prigozhin? Is it Prigozhin? I don't know. Hard to say. All right, I'm gonna actually smoke my pipe now and actually enjoy the flavor. Goodbye.